Hey, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
What's up, man?
Oh, hang on. There
There
I
we
am.
go. Hey, what's up?
Not too much. How are you?
Everything's good. Where are you located?
Provincetown, Massachusetts.
Okay, very, very cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're where?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. The
Cradle of jazz.
hometown of Marilyn May.
Yes. Yes. I actually, so the way this show started, I saw a show called, or listened to a show called The Neon Beat.
Hmm.
And it's like the American songbook 40s, 50s, 60s. And the guy that runs the show is John Christopher. He's one of my best friends. He engineers my show. And the first song he ever played on his show with Marilyn May. So it's always been my pursuit to get him closer. So I think 3 years into the show, I got him an autograph CD, and then we finally got to see her live. She performed. Man, that world of performing is not around anymore. It is 100% a different world.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Hey,
mean,
Mike. We just launched into a discussion because he's in Kansas City, which is Marilyn May's hometown. So we just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's cool to have her here. She has sat in with me a bunch of times, which is really fun.
Yeah. She
yeah,
comes to Provincetown every summer. It's great.
yeah, I just saw her on International Jazz Day. We had the Count Basie Orchestra played at the music hall, and she
Oh,
got honored before the show. And man, the energy that she still has, the vitality, and and my friend John Christopher always says, I think she was one of the very few performers that made Johnny Carson literally leap out of his seat and clap and say, "That's how it's done." He said it every time.
yeah. Incredible.
So she was the one.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So we have so we have one more coming in, correct?
Yep, we have Lauren Scales, who is
Okay.
our vocalist,
Okay, cool.
and
All right.
also she wrote a couple of songs on the record too, which we are thrilled with. She is
Okay.
right now.
There we go.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are
How are
you?
you? Well, it looks like we have the trio on here, so I think we're ready to hop in here. Where's everybody located, just for posterity here?
A little bit of everywhere. Um, I am currently in North Carolina, but I am recently moved to Philly. So,
Okay. All right. Excellent. How about you, Mike?
I'm in Provincetown, Massachusetts.
Okay. All right. Okay. So,
Mike
all
and I
right.
are in the same spot basically. He's about a
Cool.
5 minute drive from me. So
Okay.
Lauren,
Excellent.
we have to check with Lauren from one day to the next
That's okay. You need
that's
one
been a
nomadic
journey.
soul, you
exactly.
know?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's for sure. Well, I'm in Kansas City. It's great to convene. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. I'm looking forward to getting into kind of the beginnings of your formation and many rivers. So thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
You bet. So before we get into the album, I want to know this. I know it's in the rearview mirror, but it still kind of pervades our life. 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging, changed everything for all of us, especially musicians. How much of living through that pandemic influenced your union together as a group, this album, or what you're doing today as musicians?
Wow.
It's pretty significant. I mean, it was the reason I moved here to P Town, Provincetown, and moving here is. I mean, I was offered the position beforehand, but that's how I got the role as the entertainment director and booking manager for the two venues here. And those two venues are really where we formed as a trio and where this music came to life. So so that was impacted by, by the pandemic, we'll say. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about
it's
Chris?
also,
What
I
were
think, sorry, I think Chris, that you were spending more time here during that time as well. You came down in January,
Yeah.
February, I think,
Yeah.
and so anyway, sorry. Yeah.
So at the time, I was living in Washington D.C. full time, but all of my gigs had sort of disappeared for quite a while, and basically, I was teaching online. That was my main source of revenue, so I could do that from anywhere. So I tried to spend more time up here then, and then that sort of moved me toward wanting to live here. So
okay.
Yeah, I think with us, I met Mike when he was still living in New York. So I was in New York full time basically until last year, when I started this nomadic journey that I'm continually finding myself on. And I met Mike in New York, and it was over the pandemic that, like you said, he moved to P-Town. And when he moved, he was like, "Hey, can you want to come up and do some things?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And that's how we met Chris, and that's how kind of the chrysalis of this union kind of came to be. Um, I know that I found it very, it was a beautiful space to be in, just to have friends that you could gather with to like explore this music with together. It was always just a very, a good hang, a good vibe, which I think put forth wanting to turn this into the album that it is. We started with a tour coming out of the pandemic, that was a lot of fun, that we think was real well received, and then kind of formed into this album.
So Many Rivers is the debut, and that's always a big deal. That's kind of your initial punch card out into the world of jazz, so to speak. So how does it feel, just kind of on a visceral level, to be able to have this album, have it out in the world? How are you feeling about it?
I think, yeah, each person's gonna have a different feeling. Mike, go ahead.
Uh, um, so definitely thrilled. I'm going to say thrilled. Also, there was a slight mishap. The label released the album accidentally 2 weeks early, and we love them. So this is not a. I don't want to go down that any type of path like that. It's just a matter of saying that because of that, things have been fast and furious with adjusting and being like things that we thought we had more time to do prior to release, we did not have time to do. So it was more of like a, yeah, like a after the fact, like, firing on all cylinders kind of thing. But yeah, so
In a way, kind of nice though, because it's sort of like, oh, rip that band-aid off, as opposed to like, oh, release date, release date, release date. So
yeah.
I mean, I just love that actually there are people, when you record a record, especially, I think most records probably take longer than the artists expect them to, but we've been thinking about and listening to this music in various forms for, a year and a half. And then there are people who, for them, it's like their first experience of it. And to get actual reactions, just even from just regular people who we know or regular people we don't know, and to hear how they, like someone emailed us recently who bought the CD, who just loves the record in general, but also specifically mentioned one of Lauren's originals, and he was just like, I couldn't believe how much I love this song. And I thought, oh, this must be like a long lost classic jazz standard that I don't know. And then I figured out it was Lauren's original, and just was like, and that just felt amazing to hear. Like, and I have no idea who this person is, just someone who emailed us. And I was like, that feels incredible. Just feels incredible.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, we got our
Um,
first like review yesterday. I'm sorry, Lauren. I'm sorry.
no, you go.
We got like our first actual review, where the first reviewer to actually like listen to the album and speak a little bit about each track and what they thought of each track. And so that was also another, um, just making it real, like a moment of like, okay, it's real now, it's out, and so forth. So
Yeah.
Feels great. Feels great. Better than I expected, actually, because, you can get super neurotic during the recording and editing process and hear, oh, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't. And then it's like it's out of your hands, and now people are hearing it and they're enjoying it, and wonderful.
Absolutely. How about you, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, I am happy to see it, the project birthed and out in the world. And I think the thing that what Chris was kind of mentioning is that you can spend a lot of time on this thing, but then it has to be released, and then it gets to have this entire life of its own, that can go in a very different direction, than what you anticipate. And so that's the scary part, but also the very exciting part. And it's been really nice. It's still very recently out, but thus far the reception has been very positive. It's always a risk putting out, original music as well. And I'm thankful for the guys for, allowing the two songs that I wrote to live on the album. funny enough, Saving Grace, I was like, I don't know about putting this on the album. And Mike was the one that was like, no, we're putting this on the album. And I was like,
I was
okay, all
begging.
right. We had to release it, but it's been yeah, it's just been very pleasant to see the life and continue to see what life the album will have, now that it's out there in the world. I think one thing that I love is just like, you know, every day I feel like we're always stumbling upon new music. And it just speaks to just like how, like, once it's there, it's there. Like 50 years from now, someone can find this music and be like, oh yeah, and I just think that's the coolest thing.
So, obviously you're not making this exclusively thinking what are the listeners going to get from this album, but it's a part of the process. What do you ultimately hope the listener gets from this album?
I think to jump off, yeah, we're not going from the space of primarily a listener. I think that there always has to be a place where like your artistic vision has to shine through. But I think one thing that we like wanted was just to like one, introduce ourselves, introduce who we are as players and people, but also to like reinvent spaces for jazz listeners. Like I know one thing that Chris brought to the table was the song Play Me, which is actually a Neil Diamond tune. But like it's he had this reharmonization of it that he brought forward, and I was like, this is beautiful. And it gave me a lot of space to play and move and grow in. And so it's just like seeing what we could take to the canon and expand it, I think.
Yeah, I think in general too, I don't think this was so much by design, but I think we all come from backgrounds in different ways that are not just exclusively you live in this very cloistered universe of this exact kind of music. We've all played in different genres and with different influences, and we all do share though the idea that we want to connect with audiences and we don't want to be completely cerebral academic or just be playing for other jazz musicians, which I think a lot of jazz recordings, sometimes you hear them and you're like, this is incredible, impressive, and amazing, but I feel like everybody who buys this record is going to be another jazz musician. And I feel like we all want in different ways to reach out to people who are just music lovers, and they can be music lovers of all different types and from all different backgrounds. And I think we kind of accomplished that. Someone's going to hear something that connects with their typical listening, and then they're going to hear something that does not connect with their typical listening, but I think all the tracks are going to be things that people from different backgrounds can enjoy, even if they might be surprised by it. You know,
Yeah.
that's the goal, at least, I think.
Yeah. What about the chemistry? How does this chemistry work for you all? And how did you ultimately decide that you wanted to make this album?
Yeah, I was gonna say to the last question, but it works as an answer for this one too. Is I really do love uh, pairing musicians together, especially when I think that both musically and personally they're really gonna hit it off. It's just something I really enjoy, and so that's kind of I knew that Chris has had a long career working with jazz vocalists, and really they end up falling in love with him, just with how he supports them both musically and interpersonally, and I, given how much I love Lauren, I knew that he was going to love Lauren, vocally, everything, like writing
Right.
wise, all of it. And so um and this is sort of a newly formed, like, I would say I introduced them in maybe it was 2022 probably. But the bassist on the record, the drummer on the record, two drummers on the record, are guys that I went to college with, back at Berkeley in the early 2000s, early mid 2000s. And so I also knew that they would hit it off with them, and vice versa. And they really, like, Lucas Curtis, on top of being like just a dream bassist musically is such an awesome person. And same with Richie Barchet. And I feel like that's it's a very important thing for me, right? That like everybody enjoys each other, you know, because I feel like you can feel that in the music. And so I think that is like palpable on the record, like in terms of what I want the listener to get. It's like I could go on and on about those connections, but I think that, you know, taking Lucas and Richie, who've played together for 20 years as a rhythm section, and putting it together with the three of us, and also the fact that the three of us each selected music for this. So we each picked about 3 tunes for this record. And so there's variety in that, and putting it all together just created really beautiful chemistry all around, I will say.
Yeah, and I have to say that Mike really is sort of the center of the wheel, whatever you call that thing.
The Venn diagram?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of a wheel with spokes and the part in the middle. Is that the hub?
Oh, gotcha.
Because
Yeah.
he's the person who knows all of us through different methods and eras of his life, and kind of created this combination. And I have to say, you know, we actually just had the opportunity to play with Richie, the drummer, in Provincetown the other night. And it just reminded me, like, just the magical musical connection that we both feel with him, and how crucial that is, especially when you're in a recording studio, which is not the most natural environment for playing music. You know, I've always found it not, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, it can be very intimidating and stifling, and you can be very self-conscious. But when you're there with people who you feel comfortable with, musically and personally, you know, that's what makes it possible to actually play in a recording studio and have it feel like a natural musical experience. And if it were, you know, you can have great players, but if you don't mesh with them personally, you're not going to have that flow. It's a conversation, you know?
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Let's say you come to Kansas City to play a live gig, and you got to come up with a way of enticing people to fill the seats. Describe what you do in kind of a short format. You're going to put yourself into a PR role here. What would you say your live performance is like to entice people in Kansas City to fill a room to see you live?
That's a really good question.
Yeah. I mean, I first of all, I think, you know, words will always only have a very small ability to paint a musical picture. So, I mean, I think a taste of the actual music is always going to be the best way to draw people in. And I do feel like we have some very accessible musical clips. I mean, if I were doing, you know, we have a little social media video that has about 30 seconds worth of music from like 3 or 4 different tracks. You know, hopefully that would draw people in. There's no magic combination of words that I'm going to say that will do more than that.
Yeah.
So that would be my first inclination.
Lauren, do you want to, or do you want me to?
Yeah. I'll jump in. If people didn't know us and wanted to know us, um, I don't know, I don't want to be like trite or anything, but I just you know, it's not your grandpa's jazz. You know what I mean? It's for a new generation. It's um multi-gener I think one thing that's beautiful about this group is that we're multi-generational, exploring the music in new ways. So that's kind of what I would want to bring in. We're bringing new things into the canon. We are trying new things with standards. We are reharmonizing, you know, just trying to figure out our place in the music. But I think a beautiful thing is just we are coming through it through a few different lenses. Um, yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, I was gonna say a similar thing. I think that a a lot of people a lot of people who aren't necessarily jazz fans end up loving the music, either the recorded music or the live experience. And I think because we do have kind of a broad reach in terms of what we offer in performing together. And I mean, even like the first 3 songs on the record, the first one is a D'Angelo cover, and the second one is a Neil Diamond cover, and the third is a Monk tune. And so, but through all of that, you get you get our filter, you know what I mean? And so, so I think it has like a broad reach in that way. Um, and yeah, I'll leave it at that, I guess. I was going to say more, but I'll leave it at that.
So let me ask you this. One of the things that's huge in the development of not only musicians, but just the regular people that are music fans is to see that first live show, whether it was jazz or otherwise. What was the first live performance, musical performance you saw that blew you away and either made you think, I want to be up there one day, or it set your mind into this dreamy world of becoming a musician?
I have a good one for that.
Okay.
So both of my parents are also musicians, in Detroit, where I'm from. And they knew folks, in the club and just music scene for a long time. And I know my first like concert, I was 10 and I went to Luther Vandross because my mom got sick. So it was supposed to be my mom and dad, but my mom got sick and I think my sister had something to do. And so they were like, all right, so I got all dressed up, got all dolled up. We had great seats because one of their good friends at the time, Valerie Pinkston, was like the background vocal music director for Luther Vandross at that time on his tour. And so we got to like go backstage afterwards and kind of hang out and do the thing. And the show was amazing. And I was just like, oh, this is lit. I love this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is great.
That's awesome. What about you guys?
Mike, do you want to go? I mean, I can go if you want.
I actually just answered this question the other day in an interview I did, and there's a I would say for me I was about 15 and I saw this woman Yasko Kubota play. My parents took me to see the saxophone player that was playing with her. But then she started the show, like she opened the show, opened the first tune, I should say, with an intro. And I think it was Autumn Leaves or something, but either way, she started it in the style of Chopin and then moved into the style of Chick Corea. And then, and I'm 15 and I'm like, what is going on? And I was just like obsessed from that moment on. And I was like, I want to make people feel how I'm feeling right now watching her. And she did it in a way that was not imitation. It was like very much her own artistry, but still with those influences. And I was just like, this is it for me. This is what I want to sound like. This is what I want it to feel like, and so forth,
Right on.
So
Awesome. Yeah, so musically for me, I mostly played classical music growing up, but when my parents were incredible music fans and they took us to all sorts of stuff. And one of the things that they did was they took us to what was basically like a traveling version of the Newport Jazz Festival. Back then it was called the Kool, like KOOL, that cigarette brand. The Kool Jazz Festival at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center, which is an outdoor place up in upstate New York. And the bill included Sarah Vaughan. And I didn't know anything about jazz. I had never really, my parents had like some Nat King Cole records and Frank Sinatra and stuff, but I wasn't like thinking about jazz specifically. And I think the only song she sang that I was familiar with was Misty, but I was just sitting in my seat, like just, oh my God, who is this woman and what is this voice and how do I find out more about this? And I just could not believe the experience. I just was blown away. Yeah, it was incredible. But I still really just played classical music, and I played in a rock band in high school, and I didn't really start I tried to play jazz a little bit when I was younger, but I couldn't break into it. So I didn't really start playing jazz seriously until I was 30. But that was kind of the thing that got me wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And then figuring out a way to actually get to do it was the challenge. So, excuse me for 1 second. I got to close this door.
Yeah, you bet. So I want to segue from there into this. If anyone wants to catch you live, they want to get a copy of the album, any of the good business in your world, where do they go? Where's the best place?
So we have, I would say to get the album, our page on the record label website is the best place to order it in terms of ordering a physical CD. I'm just going to double check, but I think it's, I think it's TRR. No. Do you have that website handy?
Yeah, it's trrstore.bandcamp.com. But you
Okay.
can go to the Truth Revolution Records. If
Okay.
you go to truthrevolutionrecords.com, it's actually the opening page.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the best place to order a physical CD. If you want to have everything together, like, read about us, have the streaming links, have the live show dates and all that, we have a page on my website, which is mikemrf.com. So mikemrf.com.
Okay.
And it says Many Rivers, and that's the page basically. So
Okay.
truthrevolutionrecords.com or mikemrf.com. Those are the two best spots.
And I will put those in the show notes. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking a minute out to talk about the album, and
Yes.
looking forward to profiling it on the show.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right.
Yeah, you too. And real quick before you go, I'd love to keep you in front of my audience when I play it on the show. Would you mind doing a plug for my show? Kind of a combined plug. Each of you introduce yourself, mention the album, and you're listening to it on Neon Jazz with Joe Domino.
Yes. Before we do that, one quick thing to mention. We
Yeah.
are doing our official album release show Thursday, September 11th in New York at 54 Below. So
Okay.
if anyone's in the New York area, we'd love to have them. But
Excellent.
Okay, so our plug is
So so just introduce yourself, where you're coming out of, mention the album, and you're listening to it on Neon Jazz with Joe Domino. Just something simple but kind of volley between, so we get everybody's names and instruments and where you're coming out of, and then that's perfect.
you got it.
Okay.
And whenever you're ready, it's good to go.
Lauren, you want to go first?
No.
How about you're listening to Lauren Scales, Mike Flanagan, and Chris Grasso.
Okay. You're listening to Lauren Scales on voice.
Mike Flanagan on saxophone.
Chris Grasso on piano. And we're on Neon Jazz with Joe Domino. And our new album is Many Rivers, and it's available at truthrevolutionrecords.com or mikemrf.com. And thanks so much for listening.
Perfect. We got it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Best of luck. I appreciate it. Great to meet you.
Thanks.
We
All
appreciate it.
right. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.